Hello and welcome to ForMorSport, the show where we talk about all things football. This is the end of season review. I'm so excited. Hello, welcome to Mark, Keith, Nana, and Chris. How are you all doing today, people?
It's been a good day.
No, it has not. It's been awful.
Sun is shining.
It has been an absolutely amazing season of football. I shouldn't be smiling, but I am. But we will get into that. We will delve into the season that could have been, might have been, that ended up not being. But there has been some amazing games this season. Obviously split in half by the World Cup, which messed up a few things. But generally, we've caught up. It's the last day of the season. And yes, it has been an absolutely amazing season. So we are going to crack on. We're going to get straight in. I don't know if Nana, do you want to, start off with what was your, hopes and aspirations for this season? What was the very best you thought that the mighty Arsenal could do?
I don't know if you remember, guys, or in discussions I've had with different before the season. Basically, when we had the pre-season, and we was blitzing Chelsea 4-0. I think we hammered Everton. We hammered another side. We had Jesus, Zinchenko, and all these other additions. The way I saw us playing football, I said, we can come second or third here.
Really?
Yeah. As I said, I can show you the texts after, the messages after from that time period. All in text, all in messages, timestamps. So you'll see I did actually say that. I thought we'd come. I didn't think we would win it. For the very reason we didn't win it, Man City. I didn't think we'd win it, but I thought we could come second or third. It was no fourth. Sorry, sir?
At the very beginning of the season, you believed that we just missed out. Obviously, the season before, we only just missed out, picked by the post by some, terrible games at Newcastle away. And we were just picked by Tottenham. So you thought after that, we are on a winner.
No, not after that. Not after that. Get me straight. I said once we made those signings, and I saw our pre-season, it was at that stage there that I thought, whoa, unless something's deceiving me here, this side looks. I don't know if you remember the game we played Chelsea.
Was that in America?
I'm always scared of playing Chelsea. For a long time, they've scarred me for many years.
They scarred many people.
We hammered them 4-0, and Thomas Tuchel said Arsenal was on this level and we was on another level.
Yeah.
And I watched that game. It was a late night game, and I watched it, and I thought, we are playing some amazing stuff here. I think we can actually, because of Man City, I didn't think we'd win the league. And because of Liverpool, I thought, okay, maybe we won't even come second. But I had a second or third. I'll show you the text after. I thought we can come second or third.
So I'll lead this on then to my esteemed colleague Chris, who is a long-term, loyal Liverpool fan. At the beginning of this season, what was your feelings? What did you believe was going to be the result of the team you had? Did you think you did well in the transfer market? Did you think that this is going to be top two again? Where did you see Liverpool in 2022-23 season?
Honestly, when you looked at it and the transfer business that we didn't plug the gaps or the holes that were starting to emerge, if that makes sense. So I did feel that in terms of the gap between us and the teams who were behind us, I thought it was wide enough to stay in the top four. I thought we might be able to do another season of top four, right? But we've been here before, where if you don't plug a gap, it can catch up with you. So I said, for me, it was I'll be happy with top four and another trophy, if possible, and a good run in the Champions League. That was it for me. I didn't think, when you see City going for someone like Haarland, I just didn't think that a title challenge was gonna be there this year. Honestly.
And do you believe that the Mane selling was going to have such a big impact?
Yeah, yes and no. I thought Diaz had come in and been a breath of fresh air last year.
Yeah.
And though Mane and him had played together at times in the tail end of last season, I didn't think it was going to leave as big a hole as it clearly did. First and foremost, Mane used to be part of the whole pressing from the front. So you lose that element of things. He was experienced in the league. You lose that element of things. And I just didn't expect to have a massive hole. And then Diaz goes and gets injured and is out for X amount of months. So, yeah, you lose another player who could have been of influence. So, yeah, it was difficult.
Okay, so Mark.
Yes.
At the beginning of the season, you've got a new manager in.
Yep.
You've got all that money, but you don't spend it.
Yep.
They spent money. Don't get that wrong. They spent money.
They had all the.
They spent 200 million.
They have a bottomless pit of money.
Yeah, they didn't spend what they got.
They spent a portion of the bottomless pit of money. Did you see Newcastle being the force that they actually ended up being by the end of the season? Where did you see them being? You know, did you see a relegation battle? Did you see mid-table? Did you see challenging for top four? Where did you see Newcastle?
So after the season before, when you saw the improvement they made when Eddie Howe took over, you saw them doing fantastic. You saw a difference in the team.
Yeah.
But if you said that we'd finish in the top four, I would have said nah. I didn't think they would make that amount of improvement so quickly. Speaking to other Newcastle fans that I've happened upon, we've all sort of said the same sort of thing. You know, it's a, and we've said it. I've said it before and this before. It's a long term. It's not going to. Success is going to build over time.
Yeah.
And if they got top 10, I think majority of Newcastle fans would have been really over the moon with that because of past experiences. We've seen Newcastle going up and down the Championship a couple of times, and yeah, it was, we've been through a bumpy road, but if to see them progress and see the unity that squad has,
yeah,
it's fantastic. It's unbelievable what they've achieved. And you look at like Trippier and Bruno, and there's reports even this week of reminding us that they were almost frowned upon for signing for Newcastle, that they'd made a mistake. But the difference that those guys have made in the dressing room, Trippier especially, has been phenomenal, despite the fact he got an own goal today. But sweep that one under the table. But when you see the camaraderie, is that the right word? Or the unity between the squad. When you see footage of them coming into the dressing room after the game, and they're just hyped up, and they're playing for each other. There's such a good feeling about the club just now, and you see the owners as well having a share in the celebrations, and it's such a change since the owners have taken over, and compared to what Mike Ashley was doing, it's
I mean, obviously there was a dark time when they were under the Mark Ashley era. It seemed like Newcastle were going to be a yo-yo team, up down.
Yeah.
There was no stability. The fans, they didn't win the fans over, and I want to talk about that a lot today, actually, because I think fans have played a major role in some of the clubs that we're going to be talking about, especially the ability for the fans, the connection between the players and the fans have definitely shone out. And had it not been for the team we're about to speak about now, you would have got a cup this season.
Yeah.
So
And to be fair, even if some other decisions, even if there was quite a few draws this year.
yeah.
So, and maybe even, I'm not going to go into it, but some folks have even said decisions that have been made on the pitch with a certain 3-letter word gone against the club.
And there have been some. There have definitely been some major mistakes. Some of the clubs that Arsenal have been victim, Brighton have been victims, Liverpool have been victims. There's been quite a few teams that have, where the FA have had to come out and apologise publicly because of the VAR decisions have been just terrible. And actually, it saddens me because we shouldn't still be here. VARs was brought in to clean up the mistakes that may be made by a referee. If he didn't see something, or he may have been blinded by a player in front of him, or he wasn't there. VARs was meant to clean it up, not to then make mistakes as well. Keith, Manchester United, arguably one of the most successful clubs in the United Kingdom.
They are the most successful.
Whoa, Nana, slow down there. Slow down there, Nana. It's still one of. Slow down.
They are one of, but they're actually the most successful.
You know what?
Oh, steady on.
I reel it in. I throw in the flow. Wait for Nana. I know Nana will bite. Thank you, Nana. So, Keith, Manchester United, where did you see your team? What was your early thoughts of what do you think you could have achieved? New manager, new ideas. Was this the way forward? Did you see this is the season that you're going to now do things?
Well, it was all very up in the air, wasn't it? I mean, last season was a bit of an unprecedented disaster in so many ways for so many reasons. So to put that into context, you come into a new season, as you say, with a new manager, having gone through the nonsense that is an interim manager, which I don't understand. I never understand the idea of appointing an interim manager. You might as well just keep your manager if you're going to do that, because there's no point in employing a temporary manager. So that was a big mistake last season. We bring in the guy that was the number one choice. He was the guy we wanted, with good reason. He's up and coming. He's had a good record in the Dutch league. He had a reputation for playing the kind of football that suits the Premier League. So there was reason for optimism. I was disappointed we didn't sign De Jong. That seemed to drag on all summer.
Yeah.
Having said that, Casemiro has been an absolute revelation in that midfield, and has solidified us in a way that we desperately needed. We desperately needed an anchor in the middle of the park, and he has been brilliant, despite a few lapses in discipline. He's had a fantastic season. I felt that whatever happened, we had to stick with the manager, regardless of whether we finished in the top four or not. However, as we started spending the sort of money that we spent, particularly when you look at the 80 million signing of Anthony, you start to see a familiar pattern appearing of, if this manager spends 230 million or whatever it was and doesn't get top four, where does that leave us? Yeah. So that instantly puts the pressure on. Me personally, I'd like to have seen him, given time, regardless of what we did this season, because last season was so bad, and there was such a clear out that was needed and still is needed. I mean, there are still players at that club that need to be moved on, but fair play. The two outstanding signings have been Casemiro and Martinez, who have given us an awful lot of solid, solidified us in so many ways. He's also got Rashford and Shaw playing well.
He's bringing out the best in Rashford. Rashford scoring his most goals in a 100%. Season.
So I can't ask. if someone had said to me at the beginning of the season that you'd be in both cup finals and finish third, I'd have bitten your hand off.
And that was what I was just about to say that as seasons go, you've got silverware, you've got the potential for another cup. Obviously, you're playing the monster that is City, but if there's anyone that can beat City in a Manchester derby, it is Manchester United. Depends on what United turns up. Obviously, you have been on the back end of some spankings, but then at the same time, you've beaten them. You've
recently
this season.
We beat them this season,
Exactly. So there were periods in the Newcastle Man United game where I thought, Newcastle were going to win this. This looks like a Newcastle win. I think and then Man United showed their clout, showed their pedigree, and they won.
Well, it was Casemiro, wasn't it? I mean, that was his. That he absolutely bossed that game, didn't he? And when he's on it, I mean, you don't win 5 European Cups.
No, and I think that's going to be what will decide. Because I kind of put it to you, Nana. If Manchester United win, I mean, Manchester United have already got silverware, so technically, they've had a great season. If they win the FA Cup, then arguably that's a brilliant season. Champions League qualification, the League Cup, FA Cup, if they win that, wow.
There's no arguably about it.
It's a good season in his first season. But because it's Manchester United, it's almost like, it's just a League Cup, not the league. And I feel, I don't know, I'll put it to you guys. Maybe there's an extra amount of pressure put on the Man United manager, whoever that is, because of who Manchester United are. Because if, as you said, if Newcastle had done it, if Newcastle had got Champions League qualification, won the League Cup, they're in the FA Cup final, we will be saying that Eddie Howe is a genius. We would be. We'd be saying this man is an absolute genius. Yeah, there's almost a certain amount of almost disappointment. The Manchester United fans that I've spoken to feel like they should be doing more. We should be better in the league. Yeah, I get that. But in the long term, 2 finals, that's not bad going. What do you think?
For me, it goes with the sign of the times, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
There is no divine right in anything, especially in football.
Yeah.
So, in all honesty, before the era of the Champions League, success was counted. Trophies was the currency of success.
Yeah.
That's how I still count it, Chris.
That's it. For me, trophies, winning trophies is still the currency of success, right? So if you get top 4,
I love it. I said it earlier, but that is such a good statement, isn't it?
It's a bonus. It's a bonus to get the other bits and pieces, right? But especially when you're Manchester United or Arsenal or Liverpool, right? Because you have had eras of dominance and some of the things that you achieved, other teams have not achieved it. It then makes it look as though if you win this trophy here this time, that's not good enough. I personally, whether that's my age or whatever, I don't buy into that. If you start off at every season, you want to win every competition you're in. So if you win one of them, that is good. That's my. I'm
with you, Chris. I'm with you.
So then, can I ask a question then? If there's a chance that you might win the league, is it okay to sacrifice a cup?
Oh, controversial.
because Nana, I particularly like your
for Arsenal in Arsenal situation,
we sacrificed the cup, didn't we? Be honest.
Which cup did we sacrifice?
The Europa.
We didn't sacrifice that. I was there.
So my point is, people were not as Arsenal fans were not even disappointed.
Yeah, but you said Arsenal sacrificed the cup, so I just want to clarify they didn't sacrifice that cup. If they sacrificed that cup, Saliba would not have played. other players would not have played who got injured.
Certain players got
when I said do not play any first team player.
Yeah.
That's sacrificing the cup. Partey in that match, Partey got injured and then he was out for a few games. So for me, if you're sacrificing, you're saying all my guys who I do not want to get injured for the league campaign do not play. And Arteta did not do that. He did not sacrifice any cup, in my opinion. He played weakened sides, half and half. He did not sacrifice. He still wanted to try and stay in every cup. And that was his mistake, in my opinion. Because we hadn't won the league for so long, if you guys remember, I said do not play one single first team player in any of those competitions. I would have played, but to be fair, I would have played him in the Europa. I would have played all my best team in the Europa.
Yeah, we spoke about it at the game. You said that the worry was if we got players injured in that, how would it impact on the bigger picture? Now, keeping in mind that up until the World Cup, Arsenal were flying, playing good football, winning games, doing well. We went to the World Cup. Jesus gets injured. Zinchenko is injured. The two almost like star players that we bought to bolster the team get injured, and we struggled from that. The funny thing is, we
didn't struggle from then.
Those games we didn't, but you could see that there was.
We didn't struggle from then.
We were at the minute. At that point we could afford no injuries. We could afford nothing.
Yeah, but we still kept winning. That was the surprise. We still kept winning. We got to halfway stage.
Yeah.
Of 19 matches, that we were still carrying on.
Yeah, I think that the Eddie Nketiah story saved us.
Yes.
He came in at the right time, and he just started scoring, and confidence was up, and he kept the wheels going, the momentum going. Liverpool, however, had some major injuries as well. They sold players, they brought in players. The players they brought in get injured. And Liverpool, as a result of that, suffer. Now, I know that we talk about the review of the season, but the last 10 games, Liverpool pretty much were back to us. They were back, weren't they? I mean, we can agree that Liverpool were pretty much back to business, but it was just too late. If they had got their players maybe 15 games earlier, we would probably, Newcastle would be breathing. Manchester United would be looking back and going, whoa, they're catching up. They just ran out of games. What does that bode, do you reckon, for Klopp in the new season? Do you reckon he will have to, because you said at the beginning, Chris, you said that Liverpool didn't replace key players. Do you think he's got his eye on that now and has said, right, you've seen now, board, what happens when we don't have that? I need money. Because I would imagine with people like Henderson, Firmino, these are older players now. They can't rely on these guys anymore. I mean, Milner, how old is he?
38.
Well, Milner and Firmino are off, aren't they? They've gone.
Yeah.
And
what I mean is that
there's talk of Henderson going as well, isn't there?
Who's going as well, sorry?
Henderson.
So what? Henderson's going?
There's talk of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. Henderson is going to be, youth coach. I can't see him living. Because the thing is, he could end his career. Sunderland, is that where he's from? Sunderland, maybe.
Yeah.
He could have probably, probably go there, but I just see him. He's a Liverpool man, and obviously he's part of everything that is good at Liverpool. Do you remember, Chris, a few years ago, a video of some Liverpool fans, and they said we're meant to try and win the league.
Yeah.
You remember that? The level of disrespect. He said with Henderson, almost like, are you crazy? Who is?
Yeah, but it's interesting because it is definitely. I mean, just staying on that theme, I guess it's very up and down with Henderson because on the one hand, you've got people who are having debate in certainly groups that I've been in, talking about, is he Liverpool's greatest ever Premiership captain? Right?
What?
Not player. No, not player. Captain, for what he has done and what he has lifted. Obviously, you've got the argument. You've got the argument of he's actually been in teams where the team works well together, whereas obviously Gerrard was clearly a better player, but he won the biggest, but he didn't win consistently. That's one argument. And then the moment,
your opinion.
What's my opinion? He's not the greatest ever. No, he's not the greatest ever Liverpool captain in the Premiership era.
And does that go to Gerrard?
Yes.
Okay.
But then that's what I'm saying. Then the argument moves away, and it's, why are we persisting with this guy? He's not got the legs, and blah blah blah. And I just think, when you really, without wanting to just focus on Liverpool too much or Henderson too much, there has to be context put to it. A lot of the time he was having to cover Trent when he was going forward and so on and so forth. The moment that kind of stopped, you started to see Trent getting exposed more. And now all of a sudden Trent's gone into the middle a little bit, go 3 wide centre backs, and oh goodness, Trent is the best thing since sliced bread all over again. Do you know what I mean?
Amazing, isn't he? He is. He's an amazing player going forward.
He is, you know.
He's world class. He scores some great goals, but he gets found out when he's running backwards. And that's the issue.
When Henderson had the legs, he would cover and no one would notice it.
Yeah.
Now that's not there. It's being found out even more. Yeah. It's putting pressure on Trent and Henderson as though they're not good players. And it's just, you just have to have the whole context, I think.
So, with that in mind, right, because obviously we're talking about players, if there are people who you'd like to sign for this.
Yes.
Once we start being able to bring people in,
yes,
who do you think are the key players that Liverpool need to bring in to plug the gap and to move them forward to the next phase to challenge City again?
Okay, again, very interesting. very, very, very interesting, because you can name whoever you want to name. Realistically, having fallen outside of the top 4, I haven't tweaked my list, because I don't think we get any of those players, if I'm going to be brutally honest.
And who
I don't think we get.
What's your list, though? What's your list?
My list. I felt that Moises Caicedo should be on that list. Reason being, against Arsenal, he played right back, and I had never seen that before. I knew he was strong in the middle, but he played at right back, and I thought that is the kind of profile Liverpool need to cover Trent and to play in midfield. That's one. There's been a lot of talk about McAllister. I think he's a good footballer. I like the look of Vardio, the young defender, Croatian defender at. Oh goodness, I've forgotten. Is it Is it RB Leipzig in Germany?
Okay.
Yeah, I like him. I had a couple of others. Yeah.
I was waiting for you to raid Leicester.
No. I don't want. I mean, Maddison. I can't see. The only player that I would, inquire about from Leicester is Harvey Barnes.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's very good. Yeah. And he can he can score goals. He is strong.
Yeah.
So Caicedo, McAllister. If you were going to raid Leicester, it would be Maddison and Barnes. And there's a player from did you say RB Leipzig? No.
Leipzig defender, Croatian. He can play left back or he can play left centre back.
So you think?
But I don't think we get any of them. I don't think we get any of them.
So you're happy with the strikers you've got? You're happy with
if everybody's fit, they're all struggling to get a game in the first instance,
Right.
The scoring goals hasn't been a problem. We did have a problem in the middle of the season, especially straight after the World Cup. We had a problem. We had players who were not fit and so on and so forth. But you just know that when everybody comes together and they click, we've been able to score goals. The issue has been the defense has not had the protection in the middle. That's just in my humble opinion. I feel that Gakpo has been very impressive. He's only going to get better. We already know what Jota does. He doesn't seem to do much, and then he pops up with a goal. Salah is Salah, Salah is Salah. And then you're looking at it and you're saying, well, then is Nunes. Nunes scored 15 goals this season. That's never going to be given credit because he came at the same time as Haarland. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. If he had even an ounce of that killer instinct, he'd have got at least 10 more, right? Because he has missed some gilt-edged chances. But at Liverpool, we like a tryer. So he will definitely get another season and he will be supported. So
yeah, so he should.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
So Keith, what about you? You've got the top four, you've got the cups or cups plural maybe. Where do you see your team having to improve? What was the weakness in the squad this season that you think, they're not going to survive?
I mean, the squad depth is a great up front. Anthony Martial needs to be moved on.
Right.
Too injury prone. There's question marks over his attitude. He's been there. When did we buy him? 7-8 years. Mm-hmm. He's not reached his potential. It's the thing is, I've got a friend of mine who's a Man United fan, and the question he asks is, you get to a point with a player when they're a young player, you can forgive them a lot, but then they reach a point where you've got to ask, are they going to get any better?
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to get any better. So I think Martial, I think his time's up. I think Maguire will go. He's the club captain, but he's not playing. He's not going to settle for that. Even if we wanted to keep him, which I don't think we do, I don't think he would want assurances, and he's not going to get that.
Can I ask, what are you in the Wan-Bissaka camp? Yes or no?
No, I think we need a right back. I don't
as cover or head of Wan-Bissaka?
I don't mind Wan-Bissaka. He's a very, very, very good defender. Yeah. I always think that if you could find a way of genetically engineering a defender, and you managed to combine Wan-Bissaka with Trent, you'd probably have a perfect right back. But these day and age, your fullbacks have got to be able to attack as well.
Yeah,
he's getting better at that, but again, is it enough? I don't know. And I'm not sure about Dalot, and I think we need another right back.
Fred,
and I don't mind Fred. Out of the two of them, I would sell McTominay and probably keep Fred.
Yeah.
You would sell McTominay.
I would sell McTominay.
Oh my goodness! Fred. Do you know what? It's because I dislike the man so much, because he's a stopper. Anywhere near that ball, that ball does not get past him. Either the ball don't get past the man, or the man don't. For what he does, that's brilliant. I'm surprised.
Yeah, he's kind of our Xhaka, isn't he?
Yeah. That ball does not get, either the ball or the man ain't getting past.
But he doesn't have the quality. He doesn't have the quality.
Okay, forward. I'm surprised at that.
And when you look at what Casemiro's done, Casemiro's shown how it's done in the centre, because nobody gets past him either. But he actually has when he turns it around, he plays quality forward passes and gets in the box, and obviously, so who's got to come in? Well, there's a lot going out.
I can ask one more question. Obviously, your strike force with Verkhorst.
Yeah.
What's your impression of him?
He's down the road, 100%. I mean,
I have never seen a player be so fortunate to be in that squad as him.
I was at the Emirates when we played Arsenal. I watched him. He was attacking our end second half. He didn't win a header. He's about 8 foot tall. He didn't win a header. I couldn't work out what he was doing on the pitch. And
what's he doing in a Man United shirt?
No, I don't think he should stay. A little bit undecided about Sabitzer.
Actually, he's quite an engine.
But again, he's a little bit of a he's a bit of a huffer and puffer, but has he really got quality? I don't know. I think we need to renew our interest in De Jong. I think that's a player that we need to think about. Obviously, I mean, the talk is going to be of Harry Kane, and I think we need to make that happen. But we also need, now this is interesting, when you think about Man City, as much as they've relied on Haarland, how good has Alvarez been?
He's been good.
I think Man United actually need to go and look for two strikers. If we're going to get Kane, we need an understudy. Now, I was going to research this before the show and I forgot. There is a Nigerian striker playing for
Napoli.
No. No.
Slow down there.
I can't remember where he's playing, but he declared interest in joining Man United this week. And he's supposed to be a bit of a prospect. And for the life of me, I was going to research it and I can't remember his name. But he's a youngster, and I'm thinking we need an Alvarez as well. And we need a right back. I don't really know where we would go for that. I mean, I do like Reece James.
You all like Reece James.
If he was looking for an exit, if he was looking for the circus in West London.
Unfortunately, our resident Chelsea contributors to ForMorSport were both unavailable to comment. End of season
I would also take Mount. There is talk of Mount going. I would take
There's
Mount.
a lot of rotting players at the moment at Chelsea, but we'll come to that. Let me quickly move over to the newest member of the Champions League team, Mark. Newcastle have put together. I mean, the Brazilian striker that you moved into midfield. What's his name again?
Joey Linton.
Yeah. So Joe Linton was booed by the fans, just completely just missing the plot.
Yeah.
Eddie Howe comes in, changes everything.
Yeah.
Makes him a Xhaka almost, and now he's brilliant.
He's just so superb. Like I said earlier on, the whole team are playing for each other.
Yeah.
And Dan Burn was interviewed this week, and he was saying that he hates the end of the season because there's going to be people going, there's going to be people coming in.
Yeah.
And at the start of the new season, there's a wee bit of an uncertainty as to how things are going to pan out. Where
is the weakness? Where do you need to improve?
Do you know? I think the way that Newcastle are playing, they play for each other. There will be weaknesses there, but to try and pinpoint where that weakness is, it's really, really difficult because they're playing like a unit. There's what Eddie Howe's done is phenomenal. You know, the changeover has been
meteoric.
It has been. And if it continues the way it's going, making some wise decisions, maybe, you know, like you say, they've got a pot of money that they can fall into.
Mark, can I say something? Mark, you saying this squad here will win the Premier League and the Champions League. So with the money they've got, where do they need to improve? Come on. Don't sit on the fence.
No. So where they need to improve is they need to have the backup so that when players will get injured, you know, and get fatigued, especially when you're running Champions League as well as Premier League and other cups that they maybe have good runs in.
So where would you say is the backup that's needed? What positions is the priority to get the backup?
I think they need to really back up in the midfield and defence. It's where you'd want to have security, knowing that you've got
a fantastic goalkeeper. You know, Pope is quality.
Yeah.
You haven't got a right back. Trippier is Trippier. So you haven't got, you know, your actual squad is quite evenly balanced.
Yeah.
Newcastle historically were useless in London. It was well known that travel, for the amount of miles they had to travel, they would get to the M25, the Watford Gap, and they would just start losing. And they used to be terrible when it passed the M1. Oh, we're going to start losing points. This season, however, they have been brilliant away from home, and they've managed to cement themselves. When they came to the Emirates, I didn't know where that game was going, because it was a difficult team. They are a solid unit. They're strong. Yeah. They play for their manager. They play for their They've got loyal fans.
The fans have been,
which we were going to talk about. And I mentioned at the very beginning, because the fans have played a massive role. They you know, I think, is it Newcastle Bournemouth is the furthest journey?
Yeah.
So I think Newcastle Bournemouth, they went there with 5,000 people.
Yeah.
The ground doesn't. I don't know how big.
If you look at pictures of St James's Park before the changeover, it was almost empty. There was fans there, but you could see there was plenty of gaps. Now it is like a sea of black and white, and you saw it at the cup final with Manchester, and it was just amazing. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's a few players I would like to see come, but whether
that's what we're asking. That's what we're asking.
I know.
Come on. So who?
I mean, there's talk of them interested in Maddison and maybe Tielemans as well. I would like to see them. Sorry, they play well together, and you know, I think they would fit in and into the squad.
Yeah.
McTominay, I like McTominay. So I know he's a Scotsman. And certainly in the international stage, the last few internationals with McTominay, he has been outstanding. He really has been really good.
I mean, can I just cut there, Mark, for 1 second?
Yeah.
So at the very beginning of the season, there was a well-known video of a Manchester City player who I shall not mention. He may have been a little bit inebriated. They were just won the league, and he mentioned that he could be playing like Almiron.
Yeah.
Now, Almiron took that personal. I know he did. Because this man went from being mentioned not the greatest player to being brilliant.
Almiron's been outstanding this season.
You have a player now on the right side who, if he gets that ball and he's running at one of your wing backs or your defenders, you're in trouble, because he's got pace and he can score goals, and he did that. And I think that Newcastle's wheels fell off as he got injured.
Yeah.
And he was like a massive force that you have. So on the one side you've got Almiron. You've then got this Swedish player.
Isak. Yeah.
You see that goal he scored the other day, where he just played for fun? No, he didn't score it.
He didn't score it. He set it up for.
Ran around a few players on the left, ran towards the goal, passed it, scored. Your striker, what's the striker's name?
Wilson.
So Wilson, who was at Bournemouth, follows his manager, goes to Newcastle, is now a Newcastle great, scored a bagload of goals, played amazingly good football. I look at Newcastle now as a team that can only get better if they keep the momentum going. Yeah. He can't, as I said, he could do a Nottingham Forest or just buy hundreds of players and they'd all never play each other because they don't understand each other. He didn't do that. I know that Nana mentioned that he has spent money, and I forget that, because I look at the Newcastle team and I think, well, who's he spent money on? Because I can't see it. But then he has
200 million. 200 million.
Like, that's eye-watering. But it goes to show you.
Also, I can't remember which game it was. There's one of the games.
Spent wisely, though. Spent wisely. I'm not
Yeah,
knocking it. I'm not knocking it. He spent it wisely, and he's done excellent. So I'm not knocking it. I don't want to try and give that impression. But I just want to make sure that everyone knows he has spent money.
Yeah. But also, there's I can't remember which result it was, but there's talk. There's a stat that came out that 9 players on the pitch on one of the big games that they won quite substantially. 9 players on the pitch were from pre-Eddie Howe era.
Okay.
And they have, they were still on the pitch. They were still first team.
Yeah.
He has galvanised that.
You look at someone. You look at what's his face? Willock. So he was an Arsenal lad. I was one of the players that was annoyed. I was one of the fans that was annoyed to see him go because I felt
wasn't.
Yeah, I know we've had this conversation. You were not, but I felt like he's the future of Arsenal Football Club. He is. If we want a homegrown, players in the like of Saka, he's one of them. And we just said bye, see you later. He's done amazingly well at Newcastle. Last season, it was his run of goals. Remember, he was banging in goals like maybe 7 games in a row he scored, which put them into safety. This season, it's not been, but he hasn't needed to do that because he's got Almiron, and the other players that he's got in front of him that he doesn't need to be there, but he's providing. Now, that's going to be an interesting one because I think that Newcastle will obviously have to improve. Every team has to. He'll probably bring in defenders. He'll probably bring in. We're talking some big clubs have gone down today. Some big.
And also we've got the lure of being Champions League.
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of players that are not in a position to play Champions League, and Newcastle, they've got a good squad. They've got a good camaraderie between them, and a lot of players will want to be in that. So,
how do you say? Is it Guimaraes? Another player we've not even mentioned him. He has been brilliant in the Newcastle team. Yeah. He has been brilliant, and of all the clubs that we've talked about, they seem to have been the ones that have improved the most.
Yeah,
it's been a very and I'm not knocking the likes of your West Ham, your Fulhams and the Brentfords and all these types, because they have also done really well. But Newcastle have gone, as Nana has mentioned, they've gone from being relegation battling, maybe mid-table obscurity, to now being one of the 4 teams in the Champions League. Now that to me is absolutely amazing, and well done to him. Yeah. Now, Nana, I've left you last for a reason. Because you and I, we argue sometimes because we may have a disagreement in our love of our club. But I would just like to know, with the team that we have right now, keeping in mind we're waving goodbye maybe to Xhaka. I hope we don't, but he's probably going.
He's gone.
Okay, he's gone. We need to replace that spot straight away. So we already know we need to replace. But who have you got your eye on as key players to improve Arsenal so that we are first next season and not second?
So in my opinion, it would be Tony. And I know he's got a ban. I know he's got a ban.
Yeah, half a season.
Yeah, I would still take Tony. You've asked my opinion, so it'd be Tony.
Yeah.
Rice.
Yeah. Is Rice in for the Xhaka spot?
Rice can play. This is why I would be buying Rice. Rice can play left centre midfield, right centre midfield, holding midfield, centre back.
Yeah. Okay.
Zaido.
Yeah.
Zaido can play right back, as what Chris mentioned against Brighton. I didn't realise that either. I was at the game. He's playing right back and an inverted right back. So he's coming into midfield, and he can play centre midfield, and he can play left centre midfield, and he can play right centre midfield, and a defender. Whether it's a centre back or a right back, it doesn't matter. If it's a right back, Ben White can be one of the cover in the centre back in case Saliba can't play. If it's a centre back, then basically we've got Wright that can play right back, and we maybe then there's someone I can't quite think off the top of my head who else can play right back. But that's what we need. We need those kind of players, that kind of quality.
So are you not convinced of Ben White in that position permanently?
Yeah, but it's what I said, maintain sort of why I didn't think we would win the league. You need a squad where you need players, 2 players for each position.
Yeah.
I don't mind Ben White in right back or in centre right back. I don't mind him playing either one.
Yeah.
But then, so what you need, you've got Saliba that can play centre back. But then if Saliba's playing centre back, you need someone else as the cover or competition. So if it's White and Saliba, then you need 2 right backs.
Yeah. Well, obviously Tommy Yasu was injured for a large sway, and that cost us as well.
Yeah.
But so we've got Tony, Rice, Casado. You said Tony, which threw me. I wasn't expecting Tony because obviously Tony's he's because of his gambling issues, he is a non-starter till January.
No, I actually think that's the reason why you should go in for him now, because you're going to get a discount. Did Suarez go to Barcelona when he was under ban, Chris?
Yeah.
There you go. It can happen. It can happen if you're smart. It can happen.
Yeah.
Go in there, say, we'll give you this money. All right, but we want a bit of a discount because he can't play for. This is where you use your negotiating skills. No.
What I will say is he didn't go out. Suarez at the time, he didn't go for a discount. That's the only thing I will say, because he'd top scored the season before or whatever, having missed the first 6 games of the season.
Abandon it or the injury.
So I was using Suarez as a point that
just as you can. I
was using Suarez, but what I was saying, that's why I said if you're smart you're a buyer, you go and say, well, my man can't play. That's the card you say. Do you know what I mean? Don't go there with a big bag of money. Hey, I've got loads of money. You go and say,
I get
I've got no money and I can't, and he can't play. You go there with that kind of stance and then try and get it for a price.
I just guess one point of interest. Obviously, Suarez was suspended and whatever. Tony, I haven't read the implications of his suspension, but I heard that it was from all football activities. So he's not even allowed to train and what. So is he allowed to negotiate?
He can train from September.
Okay. So from September
to January, you are fine to be fit, as in not match, but fit. So
But because it's September, they've played a bit of a blinder here. If it's no football activity, is he allowed to negotiate a new contract with another team before the window shuts?
Oh.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, but I would imagine he is.
I'd imagine it, but they said no football activity.
Yeah, I thought it was the playing of football. So even if he negotiates a contract, because let's put it this way: have they stopped his pay? He's still getting paid.
I don't know.
Paid. So he can negotiate. Even if Brentford offer, I think they're even offering him a new contract. So he's still talking to them about getting a new contract, so he can, that kind of stuff, money side. I think it's the actual on-field stuff and training stuff that he can't do.
I might ring him up and ask him if I should put a bet.
I mean, the thing is, and you and I spoke about this before, Nana, that the similarities with Ian Wright at the age could potentially be, because obviously Ian Wright came to Arsenal as an older man.
28 he came.
28.
He came when he left as our top goal scorer.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, I love Jesus. I think Martinelli and Xhaka are amazing guys, and they score. Trossard, they all score goals, but that Tony will probably bag a lot of goals.
Of course he will, and it's a different option. That's the other thing. You've got 2 strikers, so if you're playing in a certain way, that's not working. or you know you're playing a certain team, you play according to who you're playing as well. You don't just say, this is how we play and we're rigid and we're not going to change for any. That's silliness.
No.
We're not that good.
Do you know what's interesting is obviously Brentford played Man City today.
They won.
And they won. And do you know, I was with a Brentford fan watching the game when they played at the Etihad.
Okay.
I was working. I was actually with a Brentford fan, and I was in shock. I just remembered. I remember exactly where I was, and I remember looking at him and thinking, I am witnessing Brentford beating City at their own game, and actually, City all over them, but they won. And I said, I bet you they'll do it again at home, because that's what Brentford have done this season. They have some. This is a team that is who were they 5 years ago? Do you know what I mean? It is a team that weren't even in the Premier League and now are knocking on the door with a team that you wouldn't necessarily thought, obviously the Danish connection. I think they were fielding quite a few Danish international players, but now they've evolved into something else now.
I think they've done a similar model to Brighton of the stats. That's how they scout. Their scouting system is similar to Brighton's. The money
results are there.
Yeah.
And the results are showing, because look at them. Brighton are playing well. I mean, Brighton now is a team that, do you know, there are certain teams where you'd go there, you think, we'll get easy points. You can't say that at Brighton, can you? You can't go, we're going to Brighton.
No.
We're going to Brighton to get 3 points easy. We played them, and they spanked us. They spanked us.
You did beat them at their place.
The home game, we beat them.
There was a reason for it, and I could see the reason as I was watching it and sitting there.
Go on.
Basically, they came to us when we had to win.
Yeah,
they didn't have to win. So from minute one, their two strengths is the press and in keeping the ball. And I think I've messaged you guys their warm-up routine. You saw how they kept the ball in the warm-up routine. So for minute one, they were giving it to the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper put his foot on it, and they were quite content with, well, we don't mind the goalkeeper just holding it here for the whole 90 minutes. We'll just take the 1 point. Arsenal were over anxious. Yeah. We need to they're rushing. They weren't composed. And then when you go for, they just passed it round you because of how good they were with the ball. And they were happy at 0-0. As soon as it's 1-0, they're even happier because they carried on the same. They didn't need to rush anything. So basically, their tactics from minute one was spot on, and they were great at it. We'll just keep the ball for the whole game. Yeah. We don't mind if it's 0-0. Whereas you guys are anxious. You need to win. And from that, I saw we wasn't going to get the goal. We could have been there all day.
Yeah. So, obviously, Manchester City are the champions, Arsenal runners-up. But let's go to the other side of the table. We've got Southampton, Leeds, and Leicester going down. I thought Everton were going to go down. And obviously I spoke with you guys earlier where I said, well, what players would I like to take from the Everton side? But obviously from the Leicester side, as you said, Maddison, Tielemans, Harvey Barnes. I mean, even I know you were going to kick me, but even Iheanacho is a good player. You know, they have got some good players in that squad. And I mean, do you think, and I'll put it around to you, do you think that Leicester will bounce straight back up?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
If they don't lose, it depends who they lose. If they keep the same squad, they'll definitely bounce straight back up.
What about Leeds?
No.
Be careful, Chris. Be careful.
I know they've already ruined me once, haven't they? They've already ruined me once. But I'm gonna know. That's a difference. I'll put my neck out. I would say of the three teams that have gone now, those who I'd give the one who I'd give the best chance is Leicester. Right? I think that as they will lose players, of that there is no doubt. Sadly, they'll probably lose the likes of Johnny Evans. They'll probably lose Maddison, Tielemans, definitely. Well, I don't know about Vardy, but let's just say Vardy decides I'm going to have the last dance, basically. for me, he is a Premiership striker. He'll score bag loads of goals. It's just, will they build enough of a team around him to do that? Leeds, I think they are just, at this moment, they have no direction whatsoever. They just look lost, in my opinion. Again, they have one or two players who are decent. The guy who went and decided this year he was going to score X amount of Premiership goals. I'm not even going to say his name. I'm not even going to say it. He's one they could probably sell and get a bit of money in and whatever. As for Southampton, I think they've got problems. They've got one or two again. Is it enough to sell to revamp the whole squad? Do you know what? Stranger things have happened. We saw Luton come up yesterday, so you just never know. You never.
Will Prowse will be up for grabs, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Have they got an Alcaraz as well? They've got an Alcaraz.
Yeah.
Alcaraz.
Yeah.
And Lavia, he's pretty good.
Lavia, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, I think Ward-Prowse is the captain, so he might stay. He could stay, but obviously he's got to think about his England career. He's got to be thinking about, so he's going to be thinking, but where's he go? I think Tottenham will probably take him. I kind of feel like he's a Tottenham player rather than going anywhere else. And he'll score.
Walcott's gone. It's announced that he's gone. Walcott.
He's leaving them. Walcott's leaving.
What, retirement or?
No,
just leaving Southampton.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, that is inevitable. They've had a very difficult season. They're going to struggle, I think, in the Championship because the Championship is a very, very difficult league to break through. There is that balloon payment, so they will have
the parachute,
which is, in many ways is an advantage to the teams that are there. So there will be that balloon payment to help them, to cushion the blow, as it were, which helps them in the transfer market. They can probably buy players to bounce them straight back up again because they are going to lose. I think Leicester will lose players. I think that I wonder. And I'll put this out to you. I wonder, had it been Everton that had gone down, would that have been? Do you think? Because Everton, would you say Everton are a bigger club than Leicester?
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
So if had Everton, because the thing is, Everton for the last few years have struggled, haven't they? There's been a few seasons where they're all going to go down or they don't, and they. I almost feel like with what they've got in place at the moment, we'll probably be here again next season with Everton.
Well, they've got all the financial fair play problems as well that they've got. So their board is not popular. They've got a lot of internal problems. So if they don't get appointments right and everything else and clean up the mess, they will be back where they are, won't they? There's no two ways about it. It's
because Keith, if with what you just said, from what I understand as well, they're not able to buy players until this thing is concluded. So even though they've stayed up, at the moment everything is exactly the same.
No. My understanding.
Is that not right?
My understanding is it's a 3-year window.
Oh.
So next season they couldn't buy anyone in that last window, but next season everyone's accounts would have changed. So it depends on their accounts for the next window. Right.
But it still needs to be concluded, even this particular period. And whether there's going to be a fine or whatever else, I assume they've still got to conclude that.
I don't know about that, but I'm just saying what they might be able to spend. So they had a handicap for last window.
Right,
that might not actually apply for
this next one. Okay.
Because, when did COVID start? How long ago are we now?
Oh man, was that 3 years ago?
3 years.
So that would have affected for 2 years. So now we might be coming out of those accounts don't count anymore. Do you get what I'm saying? So
I
don't know their specific accounts, but all I know is the window. It's for 3 years. All right, now it moves to the next 3 years. And the next year moves to the next 3 years. So if they can keep afloat, they can get themselves back in where they can spend money again.
Okay.
So speaking of, sanctions against clubs, Man City currently have a cloud over their head, quite a big cloud. I'm hoping that
the FA
get Juventus up on them.
No, God. No chance.
You know that if the FA did a Juventus, United will have won the league about 3 times. You guys,
United or Liverpool?
both United and Liverpool,
Both.
both of you would have won the league about 2 or 3 times. Because
But Keith, could I ask Keith a quick? Would you be happy with that, Keith?
No,
Why?
it's nonsense. It's nonsense.
No, I don't.
It's null and void. You can make the leagues they want null and void, but don't.
Yeah.
No, I don't agree.
Retrospective titles
You're meant to-
people, nah,
Listen,
means nothing.
these guys spend an entire season playing football, home and away from their families, listening to fans, telling them about their grandfather and this, that, and the other. At the end of that season, wherever they are there based on what they've done. If they are second, they've just been picked, but they find out the team in front of them has been doing things that they're not allowed to do. Why shouldn't they be punished?
Johnny, you've just finished second. Do you want it?
Yeah.
Do you want a retrospective title award 5 years down the line?
Yes, I do.
Look at the Olympics. Look at the Olympics. As distasteful as it is, when people are found to have done steroids or whatever it is in the gold 100 meters, they lose their medal and it goes to the next person.
But that's in the moment. That's in the moment.
Yeah.
No, it happens retrospective as well.
It does. It does. But no. In that particular instance,
it's a distasteful way. It's not the way you
but no.
Listen, Chris.
In that particular instance, for me, I just feel with that illustration, it doesn't for me match up. Reason being, the individual may have been complicit with their coaches and all the rest of it for taking whatever substance. With the football, the players on the pitch are not the ones getting involved in the deals. They go on the pitch, they play 11 against 11 or whatever it is, squad against squad.
Chris,
and whoever comes up.
Can I correct you on something? Mancini
Okay.
had an account which he was getting paid. This is my wages. Then he had the illegal one where he was getting paid, and they tried to.
He's not on the pitch.
He's the manager.
He himself is not.
That's
He's not on the
even worse.
pitch.
He's the manager.
Can I just say, right?
He's the manager.
It's very, very
That's
important.
even worse.
But
You're the
But
manager.
this is all alleged, isn't it?
Yeah,
None of
all
this is
alleged.
true.
Right, alleged.
We have to
Alleged.
say that.
Sorry,
Can I-
It's on you.
Thanks, Keith.
Can I just say,
Thanks,
because obviously I brought this up.
Alleged.
Can I just say, because obviously I did bring this up, right? When you win the league, you get advantage. Financial, there is advantages with sponsorship.
Keeping another side out of the Champions
Keeping another
League.
side, there is, for you to win, someone else has got to lose. Now, the other teams, if they are doing things by the right way and they lose, they have been cheated. Now,
So-
it is proved that Manchester City have been doing things. Look at right now. Look at the Barcelona refereeing nonsense that we've heard. I don't know if you know about it. There's a referee that's on their books. His first game, getting paid by Barcelona was the Arsenal-Barcelona Champions League final. Now, that's what I mean. This is how important it is. These things they go back decades. With City...
And Laban got sent off, and he said after that he shouldn't have sent him off.
Yeah, we are talking decisions get made, and it's not just about football. It's about the impact. Now, from that moment on, Barcelona, stratosphere, best team in the world for years, greatest players, all the sponsorships, all the money, everything. Dragged it away from Madrid, and it was in Barcelona. City have dragged the Premier League away from the Uniteds, the Chelseas, the Liverpools. They have owned it. It's like mine. You can't have it. But if you find out they've done it by cheating, then they should, by rights, they should lose it. They should lose it.
I'm quite happy to have them stripped of their titles, but the problem is if you start awarding second place, how the implications
where does it stop?
Go much further than just
Italy have done it for years. Italy have done it for years.
That's right.
It goes to who gets relegated. All the
That's
teams
right.
they beat. How can you revisit the whole season?
You
can't.
don't. Italy have done it and proven it works. They just give it to the second place. It's like it's like a hollow victory. So I know what you mean, Keith.
Yeah, it's just nonsense.
You get a hollow victory, but that's what Italy have done.
Would you rather lose by knowing the team above you cheated? Would you feel comfortable with that?
Well, what did they do with Lance Armstrong? I don't
They
think
removed
It was a script.
They
Yeah,
just,
but he was stripped, but the second place weren't.
They weren't awarded it. They just stripped him and done.
Everyone was just cheating in that era. Though,
yeah, but
weren't
what
This is it.
so they, as Nana said, in Italy, they look, when someone doesn't play their when a team doesn't play their players, what happens? They get deducted points. You start the season 15 points below, right?
Yeah.
You don't pay the guys. If your finances are not in order, FA will sting you. They will say, right, okay, guess what? You're going to start this season 15 points negative. And
I'm up for that. I'm up for that.
But my point
no problem with
is that at the upper level,
forward.
at the top level, you have got teams. If allegedly they are doing dodgy things, backhanders, where does it stop? We've thrown the book at Tony. Why are we so afraid to do it to a team like City?
Because they generate so much money, right? And when you think of, if you think of where their backing comes from, right, you've got to realize that if you it's as with anything, if you go for someone who is of that power, you've got to make sure you get it right. Because even if you get a little bit wrong, you're going to ruin your reputation and so on and so forth. So you can't sit there and say we think and did it, especially when you haven't set a precedent of what your punishment is, right? So even if they find them guilty, guess what they're going to do? They're going to give them a humongous fine and move on. That's the fact.
That's what I think. Ultimately, that's what I think will happen.
Yeah.
I think.
But there's another factor. There's another factor because the FA or the Premier League, I think, are under scrutiny because they are being told that they need to bring in independent adjudicators because they've not got their house in order.
And it's about time.
So they also have to show a strong hand. So there are other political things going on around it,
right?
That mean UEFA's attempts to sanction City were laughed out of court.
No, that was because it was time barred, though. That was because of time barring.
Yeah, all that kind of thing.
Because City actually paid fines. City paid fines because they did wrong. It's a fact.
They didn't get banned.
No, they didn't get banned, but they did wrong, held their hands up and paid fines. They if you look back, they actually did wrong and admitted they did wrong because they got away by just paying the fine.
But even the current, but Nana, the current issue with City at the moment was an adjournment. So this is something that has gone back a few years, and they were able to put a pause.
And they're going to keep doing that.
And all what's happened is that the clock has run out, and they're like, we can't pause this anymore. We now need to. And they've said, oh yeah, we are more than happy to, we are more than happy for you to look through our books. Okay, open them and let us have a look, because then we'll start to understand. Then we'll start to see. Oh wow, how did you pay for that? What did you do there? The Chelsea era is over. Yeah, where we can just, there is a lot more scrutiny on how players are bought and where the money is, and all this financial fair play has kicked in, and that's the issue. Have they got an advantage? Have they gained an advantage and therefore won the Premier League multiple times by being unfair?
100%.
Well, there is
100% because now they don't actually, for the last 4 years or 5 years, it's like they've already got their steroids. They're no longer on steroids because they're now pumped. They don't need to have the cheat. They don't cheat anymore.
If I had a mic, I would drop it.
They don't cheat anymore because they don't need to. They are now at the top of the tree.
But there is a question. There is a question, isn't there? It's been asked this week. I mean, they allegedly paid 50 million for Haarland. That was the official figure.
Exactly.
But there are people coming out now and saying, if anyone thinks that was the total figure.
No, but the total figures from his wages.
But they reckon there's even more to it than that.
No, he had a release clause.
He
had
did.
A release. Yeah. If there was dodgy dealings outside of the release clause, then maybe that shows that they're carrying on with what they were doing before.
Exactly. It's been this week, but I don't. Again, we have to say allegedly, but it has been.
And if they are, that's just blowing my mind. That if they're doing that, that's bang bang. That just showed they need to be. If that's happened, what you just said, Keith.
Yeah.
They need to go down divisions.
It's been alluded to.
No, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if it has happened where they paid the release fee, but the reason they got him is because they then paid
a backhander,
additional backhanders outside and off the books,
allegedly.
And but that's what I said. If it's been done, I'm not saying it has been done.
Yeah,
they need to be relegated. Relegated.
It's not going to happen, guys.
I know, but I'm just saying what I think should happen if they did that.
Hold the floor for 1 second. In Scotland, when Rangers went through all the financial issues that they went through, the Scottish FA relegated them. They were not too big to fail. They knew how the impact that would have for their league, because arguably Celtic and Rangers are two biggest clubs in Scotland, and they relegated Rangers, right? Sent them down. And yes, you know what? They've made it, and they've made themselves back. In Italy, Juventus
have been relegated,
your biggest club. We're not talking about a small club. We're talking about the biggest clubs in the country
and in Europe,
got relegated. The Italian FA made the decision. We know this is going to be massive because obviously it's a big club. I am interested to see whether the FA in this country has the Bojangles to be able to make a decision like that.
It's the Premier League, though, isn't it? It's not the FA, I think.
Sorry, the Premier League.
Yeah.
I don't believe they have the Bojangles.
But wasn't the Scottish, wasn't this issue in Scotland that Rangers spent more than they had made, and then it got to a point where they had no money to kind of pay.
Well, Rangers, as they were, no longer exist. It is a new club.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They folded them. So that's
liquidation.
That's it. So that particular situation is slightly different because City have money. It's just have they been doing illegal things to give themselves an advantage, whereas the other one, Rangers, they spent too much and they folded. So it's completely different club. But
my point is that when they found irregularities and abnormalities in their finances, the FA's there.
They acted.
What I'm saying, if you find a team like City,
no impact.
There's no impact.
No impact.
But the thing is,
money.
But we know this. I don't mean to be funny. As supporters of teams who play in the Premier League, right? Yeah. We know this. I can go back to when Houllier was in charge. We tapped up. Was it Christian Ziga? Right? We tapped up to Christian Ziga, and they said you've agreed a deal with him and the club, and we've now found out that actually you spoke to him before you were supposed to, and they slapped a bit more money on top. At the end of the day, nobody cares because we can afford to pay it. I'm sorry to say it, but no precedent has been set. And I just think, like you've said, Johnny, I don't think they have the ability to make a change. They will just say, you know what, we're going to do an unprecedented fine, which will get appealed and get cut in half. So they might go as high as, 100 million. Then they appeal and then it goes to 60 and they will move on with their lives. And then the 60 million will be paid over 5 years. Do you know what I mean? It's just a nonsense, to be quite honest.
But I think that, I'm looking, honestly, this will probably start to bubble over the summer. Because obviously as we start to, because keep it in mind, look at the punishment Chelsea got because of what's happened in Ukraine. Not able, but can't buy kit and can't buy players and all the things that they can't do because of the issues around what happened there. They were literally right. You are an island and you can't do nothing, and that has impacted on Chelsea. Of course, it has. It's impacted Chelsea. Yes, they've spent money now to try and play catch up, but it's impossible. I would like that to happen to City. I'd like City to be able to do that as well.
Sorry, I'd like
Wait.
to
Hold on a second.
Bahamas next week, but it ain't happening.
Listen, according to the last few years, City have been saving football. From what I hear, as a Liverpool fan, City was saving football, especially English football, because nobody wanted. So what I don't understand where the changes come. At the end of the day, they were saving it. No,
saving it.
If they didn't win it a couple of times, Liverpool were going to do it. So fans from all the other clubs were like, City have saved English football. Now all of a sudden, everybody wants City to get punished.
No,
we've got to make up our minds here.
I've never ever said City is saving football.
Yeah, I've never said that. No, I must admit.
Keep is smiling because he's heard it before, definitely.
I've never said that.
I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to Man City, even though they are United's, in theory, biggest rivals, I don't know any City fans.
That's it.
I don't care what they do. I don't get abuse. I don't get abuse when City win. I get abuse when Arsenal win. I get abuse when Liverpool win. That's the problem.
Yeah, I hear that.
So it's interesting because obviously this is going to, this isn't going to go away. City have got the league. They've got the players they want. They've got the manager that they want. They've got a Champions League. Arguably they're going to win the Champions League because I can't see them losing to.
Whoa! I got into trouble with Leeds and that guy.
They can lose. They can lose. It's a one-off game, Johnny.
Sorry,
it's a one-off game. Wigan beat them in an FA Cup final, got relegated.
Listen to me.
I think City will win. So don't get me wrong.
Win with their eyes closed. They could play.
No.
They won't win with their eyes closed. They will not win with their eyes.
We don't let Johnny. Don't become a meme like me.
No, I'm telling you this why. I'll tell you the reason why, right? Because City, the Champions League final, they just played it because they beat Real Madrid. Because either team that wins that game wins the Champions League. Inter and AC Milan, when they played each other, I was looking at I watched the game and I was like, this is so boring. Like, it's so unbelievably boring.
Hold on. Right. Wait. What's this word that we used? Is it pedigree? Pedigree?
Yeah.
City don't have any. They don't have any. I'm sorry to say it. They've got money. But they don't have pedigree.
No. Guardiola has pedigree. And therefore, because of his influence on that team,
it's true.
There are players in that squad that have won multiple things in their countries of origin.
But how many
who's won the Champions League in that squad?
Keep thinking.
It's none of the midfielders. Bernardo Silva hasn't. Gundogan hasn't. De Bruyne hasn't.
Haarland hasn't.
Grealish hasn't. Nobody's won it.
Do you know what? I didn't even realise that. So what we're taking?
Obviously, if you flip the question to Inter Milan, we'd probably be in the same place, though. But you know what I mean. We'll ignore that.
Right? They have pedigree to win it.
That's the point. They've got
pedigree to win it.
Oh,
we have two.
Yeah.
Champions League winners in our team.
No. Yeah.
I'm just going through it. We've got two. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that. So I'll take that back then. But I almost wasn't going to watch the final because I felt like
same. It's a big deal.
The annoying thing is that because Haarland this season scored the amount of goals that he did in his first season, the man breaks all the records, wins Young Player and Player of the Year awards. Unbelievable football. Is a machine when it comes to scoring goals. When at the beginning of the season, City didn't know how to play with him, did they? Do you remember? They were struggling. He kept making runs, and they were still playing like their midfield football. And then they suddenly just woke up and went, "He's there. We need to pass the ball to him." And then he started scoring. He's been amazing, and yes, he's been great. I I think that as we've talked about players that we need to improve our squads, that is the benchmark. Because all the players that we've talked about that we think will make our team better, will that make our individual clubs, will those purchases give us the squad that can challenge City? Because that's going to be the issue.
I would say yes, because Arsenal have already challenged them.
Liverpool?
But no. You're challenging. You're challenging from a point where one, they always do this. To be honest, beginning of the season, they'll either blow you away and then have a bit of a slow middle and then come again, right? Or they start slowly and then they just reel you in, right? This year they started slowly. Haarland needed to get to grips, as Johnny just said, and then they've come back. They still won the league. They were miles. Look, I said to you, for me, Arsenal played the best football of the season. There's no arguments there, right? But City got the job done. They are now also going to improve, right? So we're talking about we need X, Y, and Z to challenge them. They're already ahead, and then they're going to improve.
You're only going to play City in the league twice. It's what you do with your other games, and this is what people need to understand. This is how I see it and how I've always seen it. Had we done our business in our games against your team, West Ham and Southampton, I think we would have won the league. But you had the same problem when you've been battling City. It's a lack of a squad depth. That's the problem. It's the problem. And Man United this season have been really, really good. But when you've had dip, it's a lack of when you haven't got your best 11.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. It's not rocket science, but if everyone has the same beefed up squad, you might not be able to beat them in a one-on-one game. They might be, but it's when you're playing all the other. You get 6 points from City. It's all the other games. You got 18 other games.
But no. If you do think about it, and again, going back, and I know I keep going back, but last season we played City twice in the league and we drew both games, I think 2-2 both places, right? So we didn't lose to them, but we lost the league by a point. The last time we lost at their place, it was the only game we lost in the league all season, 2-1. Sometimes you do need to beat City because I hear about the other game.
But if you remember, was it last season, Chris? I don't know if it was last season or the season before.
Yeah.
And might have even been against Everton, where there was a handball.
Yes, it was last season.
And they should have had a handball penalty against them, and the VAR messed it up. And then the points there if the goal was scored. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's not just the game again.
No.
Obviously, it's important, but there's many other games where you can get your advantage against them. So if you can beat the so-called other inferior sides, that's where you get the points.
Yeah, fair point.
In my opinion, obviously, if you can beat City, it helps big time.
Yeah.
But there's so many other more points to go for that helps you win the league, in my opinion. And that's where you need the squad.
Definitely.
You need the squad that you can play every single game to your maximum, or you can swap out this player for this player so he's not injured or knackered the whole season.
My observation watching Arsenal this season, somebody said this, and you guys might not agree, but when Arsenal were on a run, particularly probably from the World Cup up until I suppose the Liverpool game, which was when it started to go south, and obviously Saliba and everything, it coincided with Saliba getting injured, and that's obviously a big factor. But another factor is that when I watched Arsenal, I saw a team week after week putting in 8, 9 out of 10 performances and had to be at that level to get the wins they were getting. City could play at 6 out of 10 wins.
Yeah, I agree.
And what Arsenal were doing was unsustainable because you can't be 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 every week. Nobody can.
I see
you still got to be able to
know
win.
What, Keith? It's funny. I did actually have a conversation with someone else that said the same. They were like, because Arsenal had that kind of being chased mentality, that they had to stay at that level the whole time, and almost City could sort of sit and wait. Almost, we can get a draw there. You got to win though. Oh, we could. Yeah. I said, we have to match everything City do. We've got a match. But actually, if we just play our game, and Arteta did say that in a press conference, he says we need to play our own game. We can't look at other teams. Because the reporter was saying, "Oh, are you watching City?" And he said, "No, because we have to play our own game. We can't watch what they do. We just have to do what we can do." And there were times when City lost, and then we won, and then we.
How long ago were you talking about? Because how many games did they just win on the road?
I think they ran. Was it
about 11?
11.
Yeah.
12 games on the road. That's not 6 out of 10 performances. They won. Let's get the actual reality of what happened. They won 12 games.
I'm talking about mid-season.
Yeah,
I'm talking about when Arsenal were on their run of winning games.
Yeah.
And City were also winning games, but doing it under the radar. And Arsenal were at a level up here where they were playing to their max. But City were picking up points and they didn't need to play to their max. And once City got into fourth gear, they just soared, and Arsenal couldn't sustain.
I'm not sure of how many games they weren't at their max. That's what I'm trying to dispute. I didn't watch every single game, but I saw a guy scoring lots and lots and lots of goals.
Well,
so I kind of dispute they weren't playing at their
Crystal
max.
Palace away,
well, I think I understand what
there might be one or two, but I don't think they went 12 games on the 12-game run and they weren't playing well. I don't believe that.
Now, what I'm saying, Nana, is
they're a better side anyway. They're the best side.
Nana,
they're the
I'm
best
not talking
side.
about the recent games. I'm saying this. My point was before the World Cup. Before the World Cup, we actually were playing very good football, and City weren't playing the best because Haarland wasn't playing his best. He was still at the very beginning of the season. Haarland was scoring the odd goal here and there before he started bagging in goals every game. Because remember, I said to you, they didn't have to play him; they were struggling. Other people were scoring goals for them, and so they were winning 1-0.
City can win games in third gear.
Yeah,
Arsenal couldn't. I think that's the difference. United used to be able to do this. We could win games whilst playing badly.
Yeah.
When we were dominating the league, we could play badly and win games.
Yeah, agreed.
But I don't think Arsenal can or couldn't do it consistently enough. It's just an observation.
And that's why also with what you've just said, Keith, it's interesting to see what will happen in the summer, because with what you said earlier, Nana, about 2 players in every position, I really think it's important that Arsenal do that. Because if you... Yeah, sorry, go on.
Because Nana unfortunately has to go. So I'm very, very sorry. Nana,
sorry, guys.
This has been a year review, and I still didn't even get... Can I ask you before you go then, what's your anticipation for next season?
Next season, if we buy the players, this is my last comment, if we buy the players what I'd like to buy or equivalent, it doesn't have to be those specific names, then I think we will challenge, but I think City will be the favourites. So I'm not trying to say they're not better than us, Keith. Of course I know they're better than us. They have a better manager and they have better players. But what I'm saying is they can be challenged. I don't have this mentality of they cannot be challenged. I think they can be challenged if you have the squad.
Yes.
That's my opinion.
All right,
Liverpool
I don't think they're untouchable.
Yeah.
Liverpool did it.
No, listen.
Yeah, exactly.
You take
anyway,
care.
guys.
Thank you.
I'll see you later. Yeah.
See you, sir. See you later.
See you later, Nana.
Yeah, just to go on. Just to finish off with that, I mean, I'm not an Arsenal fan, but because you are now their closest challengers, it's imperative that you get the players in, because you will find we've challenged them 3 times, lost twice, won once, right? And every time we've challenged them, you find that there's a hangover afterwards. You're just exhausted, right? You're just exhausted because they have put you to battle. Do you understand? And it's interesting what Keith said earlier, right? I know Nana was saying he doesn't fear City as much and so on and so forth. And I don't know, you need to get points against City and blah, blah, blah. You do, right? Because, Keith, you will know that when you were going for titles, whether it was Chelsea, whether it was Blackburn, or whether it was Arsenal, your manager set you up to win at least one of those games, especially the home one, right? Yeah. You can't go for a season against
the psychological battle. Winning that psychological battle is important.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You have to.
Can I just add, right? And I know this is probably not even, you'll probably say this isn't a thing, but it's something that I've noticed. So Newcastle,
yes,
their derby is with Sunderland, Middlesbrough. Yeah,
not in the league.
Then exactly my point. They're not in the league. So Newcastle don't have a derby where, oh my goodness, it could go either way.
Yes.
Manchester United is Liverpool, is Manchester City. They are surrounded by, and because of their reputation, everything they're going to play is going to be like that, a derby. The same also goes with Liverpool. Liverpool have Everton on their corner. They got Man United. They got City down the road. Then obviously because of the reputation, wherever they go, they've got to play, and it's very difficult.
Yeah.
What I was trying to make is, if you are a London club, you have a lot of derbies.
Horrible.
Amount of derbies that could go either way. You know,
you've
got to play West Ham, you've got to play Tottenham, you've got to play Chelsea, you've now got to play Crystal Palace, you've got to play Fulham, you've got to play Brentford.
Yes.
Anyone?
Not this. Yes, Crystal Palace.
So,
and Queen's Park Rangers and the like are waiting in the league below.
We've got 7 potential. I don't know where this is going to go. That's a lot of points. This season was the first season that Arsenal basically cleaned up.
Right.
We cleaned up, and that's why we are winning. I personally think that whenever you look at teams like Chelsea that won the league, you look at how did they do against their fellow London clubs? They cleaned up.
Right. Yeah.
Because they knew. Because then you go to teams like Newcastle away, and you're thinking, well, I've got those in the bag. You guys just don't. It's such a very strange concept to have that many derbies. Obviously, the North London derby is the game for us, but actually, our most difficult game. I mean, Brighton might as well be a derby. Just down the road from us. You get what I'm saying? These are difficult games. That when Newcastle can kind of go to, Liverpool, Manchester United. They're the 2 big ones, and City, obviously. And then from then on, there's nothing. It's just a game. Like it's not like, oh, I'm gonna run till I'm almost sick because I want to win this game. I'm so desperate because I don't want to be going into work Monday morning and having to take abuse because I got beaten by a London club. Because that's what happens. Did I make Fulham? I don't make Fulham, did I?
You did.
So in terms of next season, because the teams that have gone up this season, Luton, who are the other 2 teams? Sunderland?
Burnley.
No, Burnley
won the league, and you got me.
Sheffield United.
That's right.
Sheffield. Yeah. So Burnley, who have been in the Premier League, Sheffield United, who've been years back in the Premier League, and we've got Luton. Now, don't get me wrong. That to me is an amazing story. And I'm so looking forward to seeing how that pans out, because keeping in mind, there's a video
going non-league for 5 years.
Sorry?
Yeah.
They got sanctioned basically out of the league for stuff that was, that's a whole other story.
Exactly.
It was out of order what happened to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the point Johnny was making earlier about those at the bottom always get the toughest sanctions. It's so unfair.
Yeah.
It's so unfair.
Yeah. And I feel like we have to get to it. So I got distracted by my point. What I was trying to say is all of these clubs that are coming up, they're not as big as the teams that have gone down. We have lost some big clubs gone down this season. Let's do it. Southampton is not a small club.
Mm-hmm.
Leeds are a huge club.
Yeah.
Teams that have come up are not as strong. Burnley, I think, will battle because obviously Burnley is a battling squad. I don't really know Sheffield United enough, and Luton, as much as you want to love a great story, they are going to struggle.
Yeah, they're gonna go straight back down.
They're going to struggle. But do you know what? I'm glad that they're up. It's not like
we said the same about Nottingham Forest.
That's
sorry.
True.
We said the same about Nottingham Forest at the start of the season.
No, because Nottingham Forest have money. Nottingham Forest, when they came up, spent a lot of. I don't know how much money they spent, but do you remember I made that comment where I said they bought so many players.
So many.
They couldn't work together. They didn't know how to play with each other, but they spent money. Luton, from my understanding, don't have that pot of gold. No. So they are going to be like a proper old school. I mean, it's going to be interesting to go over.
But you know what? Do you know what it shows you though? And I, to a degree, I know, being a supporter of my team, I was saying it to someone. When you look at the makeup of the Champions League and the teams that have gone, 3 teams from last year are not in it anymore from England, and 3 different teams have now replaced them. Right. So now you're looking at it and you're saying, wow. Could we now have a top 7 or 8? Like, because you could add Villa to that if they do the right investment, right? You're looking at it and you're saying, could we have a top 8 going for the top 4, right? But then you're looking at the bottom and I'm thinking, it's refreshing to have a different set of teams that have come up. All the teams from last season, none of them got relegated. It's good. I think it's good for English football that there is change.
It's funny you should say that, Chris. Very, very funny that you should say that. And do you know why? Because at the beginning of this season, I said to you, in this forum, I said, has there been a changing of the guard?
Yeah. But you said it specifically you said it specifically for Liverpool, right? So
what my point was, I was saying that at the very beginning of the season, obviously Arsenal played quite well.
Yeah,
it surprised me, and I said to you, there's quite a few teams that are playing. Like Newcastle haven't been getting beat. The likes of Brighton's weren't getting beat. Brentford weren't getting beat. I was thinking to myself, is there a changing of the guard here? Because it felt very much like the teams that we should show our respect to, the United, the Liverpools, the Cities, the bigger clubs. Teams were going and beating them, and I just
that was on the back of the game that we played at the Emirates and we lost. So when you said that to me, I didn't take into account you were actually talking about overall. I thought it was a case of that game. I was like, sorry, I guess I misunderstood that because I picked the one game.
Yeah, I was looking at the league and
right.
Newcastle, right. This season, for next season, Newcastle's should be looking to try and get out of their group. Yeah,
big facts.
As far, I mean, don't get me wrong. And this is quite. It's funny. I should really show a little bit more respect here. I assume Arsenal will get out of their group. Shouldn't do that, but I assume that we will. And if we don't, that will be a failure. I believe. I think that we will be disappointed.
But you don't know who you're going to draw.
Oh no, I don't.
Because bearing in mind, Arsenal won't be in pot 1.
No,
definitely not. No. But I think United will. That's the problem, I think because it's a rolling kind of 5 years, right? So United have been in Champions League, and I think you're just missing out on the Europa from 17. Is it that you won under Jose?
Oh yeah.
But if you're making that,
I don't think we were in pot 1 last time we were in the Champions League. I don't think.
But that's the problem. Dependent on because even Liverpool, I think we were in pot 2 last year.
Hold on, who was it? Who last season? It was Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Tottenham.
Yes.
Wow. So
it's a change. That's what I'm saying.
Very noticeable. Yeah.
It's a change. And if the teams who have ended up in the Champions League play their cards right, they can pull away from the ones who didn't make it this year. Because Spurs will probably lose Kane and won't spend big money because who wants to come there? Their saving grace is that they're based in London. Yeah. You then say Liverpool. We don't have the money to spend like that. So if Newcastle spend wisely and do well again, if Arsenal spend wisely, and we know about City, but if United, they're already a draw. Do you understand? United could end up 5th and still get the players. That's Manchester United, right? Yeah. If those teams spend wisely and do the right things, they will pull away from the teams who didn't make it. The only other ones maybe is Chelsea because I just can't see them getting any worse.
Yeah, but so with Chelsea now not in Europe
at all.
Does that make them a dark horse for the title?
They will challenge if they can be consistent.
They haven't played well this season. They've got a group of players that just don't know how to play with each other. But because they are not in Europe next season, they are fresh.
Yeah,
but anything could happen with Chelsea because it's not the same Chelsea that was around 18 months ago.
Correct.
It's a different thing. It's a different animal. It's a different owner. The squad is now unrecognisable.
It's crazy.
They've gone through 4 managers since then. I mean, what is it? I mean, and Pochettino, I think Pochettino's a bit of an unknown because what's he won? He hasn't really.
Yeah.
You know.
League.
Huh?
The French league.
I could win the French league.
Steady on.
Come on.
So what you're then saying is that Pochettino won't do what he did at Tottenham.
He could.
I think he could make Chelsea another strong team again.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah,
and he hasn't got Europe to distract him. Because
he's got the stench. He's got the stench of Spurs on him, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just got the stench of Spursy all over him, kind of thing. He's the one manager who went to PSG and didn't actually win the league. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you go to PSG and not win the league in your first season? I don't get.
But if you think about it, he inherited a mess from Tuchel, though, didn't he? He wasn't.
Yeah. He did.
He didn't. He only came in halfway through that season.
But
it's worth remembering though with Pochettino that he was hamstrung at Spurs by lack of investment.
Yeah,
correct.
Whether he could have taken that team further had they have bought anyone for 3 years or whatever it was when they were doing the stadium and they didn't buy anyone, he might have been, if he hadn't been Daniel Levy to death, he might have he might have actually won something with Spurs. It's possible.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And he will get money here, won't he? We know this.
He will.
We know he'll get money.
This is my point. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So with that, he has got a pot of gold.
Mm-hmm.
He's got, he now knows that the Newcastles, the Arsenals, Man United, and Man City are all distracted with Champions League football. They are all going to be. Sorry. So he already knows. Basically, when they play Wednesday, they might be playing me Sunday afternoon, and I didn't play the week. So I will just go at them. Go at them. You know what I mean?
He's under very little pressure. I think he's under very little pressure, especially that first year. He just needs to focus on winning games in the league and putting on a good run. Just putting on a good run.
I think that Chelsea will do what Newcastle did this season, but because of the funds that they have, they challenge.
Here's a question for you all then. Who would take João Felix or Felix?
No, I wouldn't want him.
I think he's a good footballer, I do think he's a good footballer.
I don't see it. And neither did the Atletico Madrid manager who had him, who bought him. And didn't know how to play him and was like, you know what? Yeah, you go. I'll let you go. I think it's because as good a player he is, he certainly doesn't fit in the Chelsea team, not the way they play. I think Mudryk is, when he was playing in his home country, he was brilliant. He's come to England playing in I don't know what position he's playing in, and he's just not the same. I'm not saying that he would do it at Arsenal. I think that we would have given him the love that he needed to be nurtured. And I think that a lot of pressure got put on him when he came to Chelsea because the way it happened was just bad.
You're loving it, aren't you?
I love it. Absolutely. I revel. I am nourished by the hate.
Could I take the conversation a little bit left? because like, if we're talking, I know we were speaking about this brother at Chelsea, but I think I called out a dark horse last season, and I called out Newcastle. I said they were dark horses for Europe.
Yeah,
they haven't surprised me at all, and I think that we should all sit up and take notice, because I think Newcastle could do an Arsenal this year. I think if they decide that they want to get their heads down, because with all the players that we were speaking about earlier, I was thinking, wow, that's really good. We didn't even speak about the likes of San Maximan. He's just not getting a game. Do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking to myself, if they go and get 4 or 5, but because he's not playing, do you know?
Why doesn't Eddie Howe like? Because
it's not even about. It's not about liking.
That Newcastle team, Maximum is the one that has suffered. Almiron has thrived.
Exactly.
Has thrived. Joe
Willett,
thrived.
Yeah. But they've got that already shows you that they've got that strength in depth where we're thinking you need to go and buy a player at £80 million. They spent the most on Isak. And Isak, I saw that goal against Everton, and I thought, this guy reminds me of Henry. This is ridiculous. What he did to those players on that side of the pitch, and then just blocked it to his guy. And I just thought, if he carries on like this next season,
Arsenal tried to get him.
Listen, I just thought Newcastle's investment this year. You've got a centre back who's Dutch, and I've forgotten his name for the life of me. And I just thought, why did all the teams in Europe let this guy go to Newcastle? Like, I've forgotten his name, right?
Not Schler, is it? No.
Mark, what's the fella's name? The centre back, Dutch guy.
Bateman.
Botman. Yeah, that's the man. That's it, Botman. And Sven Botman is quality, right? And we'd heard about him a couple of years ago, but no one did their foot in. And then Newcastle have done it, and he's just been phenomenal, right? And I'm saying to myself, if this summer, right, they go and get 4 or 5 players of a good ilk who fit into what they're trying to do there and are good footballers, Newcastle are in their, what should I say, they're in their Adebayor phase of Manchester City, and they've already made Champions League. They've already made Champions League, right? What happens when they get to the Tevez stage of it? Yeah. They're going to be challenging for the title.
Yeah, they will.
Do you know what I mean?
I think the question will be will they, if there's even a little bit of a blip, will they shake and remove Howe? And
they can do. They can.
I think it'd be sad if they do, because I think that what he's done, I don't know if when he first came there, everyone thought it was like an interim. Oh, he's just
big back, yeah,
interim manager until they get their real one, and then he gets some Champions League. He is not an interim manager. He is the main guy.
This is it.
I'm very aware that we have talked for nearly 2 hours, and I know that people.
Crazy.
So I want us to leave some concluding comments for the season that was 22-23. I just want to know, who do you think was your star player that stood out? And I'm not saying they score a bag of goals. I'm just saying, who is the one player for you this season that you thought, I liked watching him play? I'm really looking forward to seeing how he develops.
Your club or just across the league?
Across the league, doesn't matter, anywhere.
Okay.
Across the league, what player has stood out for you where you've gone, I enjoyed watching him play?
Okay.
Mark?
Almiron is my favourite.
Almiron, he's a quality.
Yeah, I know he's a Newcastle player.
No, you can.
I think he's come leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
And there's a close tie between that and Gilmaresh.
Yeah.
I think just with the development that he has had, it's just he has been outstanding, and he's scored some absolutely cracking goals. So that's my vote.
Keith?
Grealish.
Oh, you took that one. That was me. That was something else now.
He's just been electric every time he's got the ball. He's proved a lot of doubters wrong. He's shut Graham Souness up. Grealish has been great.
I think Grealish has come on leaps and bounds as well after the World Cup, especially.
I think can I just to add to that, because I was going to say Greenish as well. I don't like him. I get so annoyed every time he's anywhere near the ball, because you know that if he wants a free kick, he'll get one. He's very good at conning the ref into getting a free kick. Obviously, he's one of the most fouled players in the Premier League last season. The reason why I've said Grealish is because he came with £100 million price tag. He joined a team that didn't know how to play him, and so last season the likes of Mahrez was probably overshadowing him. This season he's made that position his own, because in a way Foden would either be on the left or on the right. Foden would play either side. Foden has not even been able to get a look in this squad because of how good they've played, and they played without him. And I thought, oh man, if Foden played like that, he'll be amazing this season. It just hasn't happened for him. So yes, I totally get you, Keith. I don't like saying it, because obviously, people like Odegaard and Martinelli and Saka and all these players, they've been brilliant for me. They've been a pleasure to watch. But I almost felt like every single time Grealish got the ball, there was a result. He never ran into an alleyway. He almost always had an answer to what he's doing with the ball. And that's part of the reason why, he's just been outstanding, and he's worth his money now. What about you, Chris?
Would you mind humouring me? I've got 4.
Go for it. Okay.
Martin Odegaard, he's grown into a proper captain. Love watching him. Saka, he has put up numbers which I didn't think he had in him, and I want to see this boy just push on. After what happened to him last time, I want to see him push on. Huh?
80 games. 80 games, I think, in a row.
Wow. I want to see him push on. Isak excites me as a footballer. I think next season we're going to see big things from him. And Ivan Toney, I think he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. We got this idea that he was some kind of bad boy, but you know what? He's a very, very good footballer. Very, very good.
And it's a pity that he spent a large period of his footballing career in the lower leagues.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have seen him as a 21-year-old, but maybe he didn't have the attitude or whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously, people saw him; they knew he was there.
Yeah.
The reason, because there's other players out there at the moment that why are you there? Like, what's your quality?
Yeah.
Why are you in that squad? It's because either an attitude problem or there's other other things or whatever. Well, listen, we have come up to the 2-hour mark. Mark and Chris, that was the review of 22-23 season. It has been an amazing season.
No, I was thinking, I've learned one thing. One season to a next season is so different, and you should always be humble and close your mouth. No prediction, just stay humble.
Yeah, it's a funny old game, as Greasy. Greasy said it's a funny old game. You can never predict what happened, and
we've had no contrasting fortunes to last season, haven't we? All of us.
Very much so. Very much so.
And
humbles you quickly.
Newcastle for being the new kids on the block. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do next season. Obviously, Liverpool have played in. So Liverpool are in the Europa.
Yeah.
And I believe who's behind you?
Brighton.
So Brighton. Well, we'll see where they go with it. Just quickly, do you think West Ham can win the cup?
I hope they do.
Yeah, I do too. I hope that they win it for, just for them as a club. It would be nice for Rice's last game before he comes to Arsenal, for it to be him. Right, guys, thank you so much. It has been a great show. I really appreciate you guys. I know we should have done more shows throughout the season, but it is what it is. I'm just glad that we were able to get through together, and we will be back next season, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Happy days.
Right, take care, people.
Take care.
It has been real.